Hello students, today there is public undertaking. You know, presently we are taking up section 2. Lastly, we finished planning masonry at various levels. Afterward, I will take up public undertaking. This topic has been important in BPSC in significant way. And if you see the trend of asking question, you will find the number of occasions question on this topic were asked. This topic is a little bit elaborate one. That's why I will divide this topic under two parts. And today I will take up one part, and next day I will take up another part. So, just say for example in syllabus that has mentioned forms, management, control, and problems. Here I have classified introduction, forms, control versus autonomy on one section, and problems, measures, etc. on other classes. So today there is introduction of public undertaking, then forms of public undertakings, then I will also discuss what is controversy between accountability and autonomy. Getting a point? So there, if you ask nature of question asked in this topic, you will find there may be three types of question. First time there may be question on forms type of public undertaking. Only once it was asked in BPSC. The question was asked while referring public corporation as the question, and question was asked that public corporation, say question was corporation form of public enterprises is regarded as one of the most important institutional innovation of our time. This question was asked. It is based on forms of public undertaking. Getting point? One more question asked in BPSC. The question was that you have to mention accountability and use. How autonomy and accountability of public enterprises are ensured. Discuss. That is another question. Here you have to discuss accountability versus autonomy debate. Then, or otherwise, if you see the pattern of question asked, you will find every year there is question on water taps, what is problems of public undertaking, whether they have in position to achieve their goal or not, what are their future, what is significance of public undertaking in Indian setup, etc. So, public undertaking, I must tell you, is basically in India post-independent phenomena. Means India adopted public undertaking after independence, as India has been under colonial rule for a long period, and during colonial rule, its entire social economic fabric was uprooted, and India inherited colonial administrative legacy and large number of socio-economic problems. India needed that time two things. First, nation building, and second, rapid and balanced socio-economic development. To give pace to socio-economic development, planned economy was adopted. Mixed economy was adopted. Mixed economy means what? Mixed economy means an economy in which both private and public administration or public and private sector survive. And what is planned economy? Means that the state will give leadership to economy through planning and development measures. And to pursue this objective, government entered in economic domain in the form of public undertaking. So public undertaking, you can say, is one of the important ventures through which state has provided leadership to economic development. Get your point? The public undertaking is known by several names like public sectors, then state public, central CPU, central public undertaking, then you can say public enterprises, then government sectors, then government owned undertaking, etc. Getting point? Pandit Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, termed public undertaking in India as Holy Temple of Modern India. Means in India, public undertaking was accorded a great status, prestige, recognition, and was considered and equated with like temple, Holy Temple of Modern India. That is why it has given too much impetus, too much recognition, appreciation at the time of inception, and now public undertaking is one of the important feature of Indian administrative system. Getting point? So when we talk of public undertaking, two things we require to keep in mind. These are not original or traditional form of governmental organization. They are new form of public organization adapted by government after independence to give economic leadership. Getting point? These are some, enterprise. What do you mean enterprise? Means an institution or organization which has an element of risk, or you can say entrepreneurship. There is element of profit also. The business which it pursued are of different nature. This is not like policing or law and order maintenance. It is something like running bank, running insurance company, then providing different types of services to individuals like telecom services, banking services, etc. Getting a point? So these services are non-conventional type of services. These were otherwise not existence in public administration. They were adapted after Second World War, or you can say after independence in India. That is why, and the organization we had to manage these things were earlier department form of organization, but in course of time it was found inadequate, and new forms of public undertaking or public organizations were adopted, like corporation type, like you can say company type. Now we have public-private partnership type. So these are some things we find in organization. Getting point? So today there is public undertaking. I tell you, this is post-independent phenomena. It is concerned with welfare state notion. It is concerned with our commitment to socialistic pattern of society. It is basically one of the important attribute of Indian administration after independence. Getting point? And Pandit Nehru termed it public undertaking as holy temple of modern India. Getting point? And it was established having four objectives. First objective, national objective. Second objective, political objective. Third, economic objective. And fourth, social objective. What is national objective? To make nation self-reliant, to make nation resourceful in foreign exchange, to make nation dependent and independent in foreign relations, to make independent nation in terms of export and import obligations. So these things, these are some national objectives. What is political objective? What are goals or objectives set in Indian Constitution or preamble is basically a political objective. Like we want to give India a socialistic republic nation and to ensure the equity, justice, etc. So this can be achieved through political objective. And now what is economic objective? To reduce unemployment, to remove poverty, to create infrastructure, to ensure rapid and rapid regional balance, etc. And what is social objective? Increasing lifestyle, bringing prosperity to country, etc. Increasing living standard, etc. This is come under social objective. So four objective. If you ask in detail, there can be some more objective of public undertaking. Yeah, you can say these objective can be elaborated further in following way. First, you can say to accelerate economic development and rate of growth. To accelerate the economic development rate of growth. Then to establish social economic infrastructure for industrialization. As after India inherited colonial legacy, and through which on that basis industrialization was not possible. To give shape to give pace to, you can say, industrialization, another setup was required, and that was public undertaking. To prevent monopolies and concentration of wealth in the hands of few. This is also one of the important objectives. It is concerned with socialistic pattern to attain self-reliance in a strategic field, to reduce dependency on foreign technology. In the beginning we did not have our own self-reliance on technology. That's why we established several ventures in collaboration with other company, foreign company, like SAIL. Bokaro Steel City was established with Russian collaboration. then Durgapur with perhaps German or you can say British collaboration, Maruti with Japanese collaboration. So these things we have. Since we did not have any technology, that's why it was pursued. Get your point? Next, you can say to achieve balanced regional development. This is also a very important thing. Next, to create and enhance employment opportunity. Next, to reduce pressure on balance of payment. Get your point? To for by export import promotion and import substitution. Then you can say to provide assistance for development and expansion of a smaller and auxiliary industry. Perhaps this time MSC, medium a small cottage industry is become very much concerned, and government MSME is giving too much concern over this one. The small and marginal enterprises, very important, very large in number, but very potential one. That's why the entire focus of government is now is on MSME. That's why it is having too much attention. Then you can say to promote redistribution of income and wealth. So number of objectives were set for establishing public undertaking in post-independent India. That one, to accelerate economic development, to rate of growth, to ensure regional development, to reduce poverty, to create infrastructure, then to give employment generation, then you can say to increase living standard of individual, then you can say to ensure to prevention of concentration of wealth in few hands. These were certain objectives which were set during, you can say, establishing public undertaking in India. That's why second 5-year plan was based on industry, and large number of industry established during this period. Get a point? So this is, you can say, why public undertaking assume important segment, because industry is basically comes under secondary sector. Get a point? So when primary sector of economy is become, you can say, developed properly, then it is required to shift to secondary economy sector and then ultimately to tertiary sector. So secondary sector was not existing during the time of independence. So through planned economy, it was given impetus, it was given thrust, and industry were established, and government adopted. Government provided leadership to economic development, industrial development through establishment of public undertaking. Getting a point? So public undertaking can be of various types. Now I will discuss what are forms of public undertaking: the departmental undertakings, then public corporation, then government company, and some miscellaneous form also. The foremost and the most traditional one is departmental undertaking. Indian Railway, Indian Post, government printing press, then you can say ordnance factory, then you can say atomic energy plant, all are established under departmental undertaking. Departments are the oldest form of public organization, and when country adopted welfare notion or adopted some socio-economic development pursuit, then to manage them, development was taken as basic organization structure. That's why Indian Railway or Indian Post work under departmental undertaking. Getting a point? So departmental undertaking having several features. Can you tell me? Because department undertaking is nothing but they are like other department under Government of India. They are very much integral part of state. They enjoy sovereignty of state. They don't have their separate legal status. They are considered the part of state and enjoy the same immunity or sovereignty what a state enjoys. Getting a point? So departmental undertakings are established by executive order under Article 77. President has power to create organization or organize and reorganize the structure, So under which public undertaking, particularly departmental undertaking, is established by executive order. Getting point? There is no difficulty. So it has no its own status, legal status. It is considered in part of state and enjoys thus all privilege, immunity as being part of state. Getting point? Number 3, it doesn't have its own fund. Its 100% fund is provided by government. Getting point? It gets every year allocation through budget, and its funds are credited to the government treasury. Getting point? There is no confusion. Its employees are called civil servant, and general personal policy of country are applied on them. Getting point? Next, you can say it is headed by a minister, which is political head and is accountable for all affairs of departmental undertaking into parliament. Getting point? Next, you can say here it is basically its account and audit are subjected to or undertaken by CAG. Getting point? It functions like other department. Getting point? So these are some important features of departmental undertaking. Can you repeat it? Yes, I can repeat. First, they are created by executive order under Article 77. Number 2, it enjoys the sovereignty of state and immunity also. Number 3, it doesn't have its own fund. It is basically part of, it has entire fund is provided by government. Getting point? It gets a budget, it gets funds for budget allocation, and its own revenue or income are credited to government treasury. Its employer called civil servants. Its account and audit is subjected to CAG control. And I tell you, it is managed by political executive minister who is accountable for all affairs of department undertaking to parliament. Getting point? So what are merits of departmental undertaking? Yes, it has maximum control. So it has very good thing that it has maximum control. Number 2, it has very good relation with other organizations of government. Number 3, where it has very strong control mechanism, so fund misuse and misappropriation is very difficult here. Number 4, it is well-known form of public organization for its fixed rules and regulations. Getting point? And it is very appropriate for strategic purposes, defense purposes, security purposes, urgent public need, etc. So these are functions where departmental undertaking is considered very important one. So can you repeat it? Yes. First, maximum control. Number 2, good relation with other part of government. Number 3, fund misuse very difficult. Number 4, well-known form of public organization. And number 5, appropriate for, you can say, defense, security, strategic importance, etc. But departmental undertaking may have certain limitation also. So what are important limitation you can point out? Yes, first limitation it has that you can say having too much control. That is very important point. So it has it lacks autonomy and flexibility. So one important limitation we have that it lacks autonomy and flexibility. Number 2, it has, you can say, it causes activism and delay also. Getting point? Number 3, it is against delegation and causes centralizing tendency. So it is also some sort of important limitation. It does not facilitate delegation of power and leading to centralization. Getting a point? Next, it has very rigid financial and budgetary control. So some limitation it has. First, I tell you, it doesn't have autonomy. Number 2, it doesn't promote initiative and flexibility. Number 3, activism and delay. Number 4, you can say it does not facilitate delegation and causes centralization. And next, rigid financial and budgetary control. Getting a point? That's why public undertaking particularly departmental undertaking are very frequent, very you can say significantly used, particularly in those sector where economic strategic importance is involved, security and defense issue are involved, or some urgent public interest is involved, where departmental undertaking are preferred. Now I will discuss public corporation. Public corporation is, you can synonymous of public undertaking. So if you talk of public corporation, you talk of public undertaking, both seems to equal. That is why in general we consider, when we talk of public enterprises, we mean that it is public corporation. Public corporation is new form of public organization. It is, you can say, invention of 20th century. That's why W.R. Robson says that public corporation is the most important invention of 20th century in the sphere of government institutions. There were no public corporation before 20th century. The first public corporation was established in America in 1920s as TVC, Tennessee Ghati Corporation, Tennessee Valley Corporation. And first public corporation was established in India, DVC, the Damodar Valley Corporation. Getting your point? So it is basically 20th century. When you do this topic, you require to mug up some definition given by some scholar, like you can say Morrison has given definition, American President Roosevelt has given definition, DeMock has given, Ernest Davis has given definition. You require to mug up one or two definition, because sometimes question directly come on public corporation also. So you can understand this thing also. So what Herbert Morrison says, that he says that in public corporation, we are seeking a combination of public ownership, public accountability, and business management for public ends. Getting point? Means in public corporation, definitely objective is public ends, but we have combination of government, public accountability, public ownership, and business management. Getting point? So this thing we find. Roosevelt, the American president, also defined the same thing. He said that public corporation is clothed with the power of government, getting your point, but possesses the flexibility and initiative of private sector, the private enterprises. Means structure-wise, it is governmental, and functioning-wise, it is like private. So these are very important attributes of public corporation. So can you name what some public corporation? I told earlier that the TVC was the first public corporation in the world in America, and DVC was first public in India. The other public corporation like RBI, then you can say Damodar, then you can say LIC, then State Bank of India, and other nationalized banks, then you can say Industrial Finance Corporation of India, then you can say Central Powerhouse Corporation, Food Corporation of India, ONGC, etc. These are central public corporation at central level. And at state level also there are certain public corporations, like in Bihar State Road Transport Corporation, Bihar State Finance Corporation, then Bihar Land Development Bank, then Bihar Electricity Board. These are examples of public corporation in the state level. Getting point? So how public corporation are established? Public corporation are established by parliamentary law, either by parliamentary law or under by executive order, under parliamentary law. So there can be two types of establishment. It can be established either by separate law of parliament, or it can be established by executive order under parliamentary law. Getting point? But in both the circumstances, there is parliamentary supervision, parliamentary scrutiny, parliamentary control. Our public corporation is present. So there is one, you can say security, or you can say protection on the part of public corporation, that government cannot manipulate or government cannot misuse public corporation in their own interest to significant manner. Getting point? Public corporation is basically a corporate body which is for you can say which is unaffected by political changes. It has its own legal status and it remains unaffected by political changes. Election comes, government get changes, but public corporation do continue, and they are established for some particular purpose, and they are unaffected by political up and downs. Getting point? So what are features of public corporation? First, you can say it is established by parliamentary law. No problem. Number two, it has its own legal status. Under its own name, it can acquire property, it can enter into contract and involve in legal pursuits. So it has very important thing here. It has its own fund, getting point, and it can use, which includes its capital, its profit, and its borrowing, and it can use its funds as per its business requirement. Getting point? Number three, it has its own employee. Getting point? And its own personal policy also. And civil servant can be appointed in public corporation on deputation basis only. Next, public corporation. Getting point? Public corporation is managed by a board of directors in which member and chairman are appointed by government of India or government of state, whatsoever it may be. Then its audit and accounts and audit are basically undertaken as per established law, and CAG can audit only when there is provision. Getting point? It is free from undue interference of government, and it has, you can say, autonomy in day-to-day functioning. So, can you repeat what are features of public corporation? Yes, I can point out. It is basically development of 21st century. Number two, it possesses feature of both government organization and public organization. Number three, it has its own legal status and it can enjoy several immunity and power also. Next, it is established by parliamentary law. Next, it has its own fund and it can use as per its requirement. Next, it is managed by board of directors appointed by government. Next, it has its own employee and its own personal policy. Next, it is free from undue interference of government. Get your point? So these are some important attribute or feature of public corporation. Now what are demerits? You can say merits. First we will discuss what are advantages of public corporation. Then first advantage you can say it has autonomy in day-to-day administration. Number two, it is free from political interference, or you can say political interference and partisan consideration. Partisan consideration and political interference. Number three, it is a valuable instrument of social control over economic life. Social control means parliamentary control, or economic life means economic matters. Then you can say it has significant political, financial flexibility, and you can say personal autonomy. Getting a point? Administrative autonomy. Then it has combination of both. You can say governmental accountability, and you can say commercial efficiency. So these are some important things you can find here. It has, you can say, it is free from undue governmental interference. So some merit you can point out. First, you can say valuable tool of social control over economic life. Number two, autonomy in day-to-day administration. Number three, combination of accountability and autonomy. Number four, you can say flexibility and autonomy in financial and administrative matter. Next, free from undue interference. Getting point? So, but it has the demerit also. So, what are demerits of public corporation? Yes, some important limitation that you cannot change it as per your day-to-day requirement. It is basically established by Parliament, and Parliament is not always in session. So to change it, it requires parliamentary approval, which is not possible frequently. So it cannot be changed frequently. It has some stable feature also. Number two, here the political power gets vested in some non-representative individual. That is also not proper. Number three, you can say here it's very difficult to demarcate day-to-day matter and policy matters. Getting point? Number four, sometimes it becomes very difficult to establish a balance between autonomy and accountability. Getting point? Because we get practical problem. Next point, that in financial and administrative matters, we talk of flexibility and autonomy, which is only in words, not in deed. In reality, ministry exercise interference and influence its matter very frequently. So it has some limits. Can you repeat again? Yes. First, difficult to differentiate between day-to-day matter and policy matter. Number two, practical problem between accountability and autonomy. Number three, political power in the hands of non-representative individuals. Number four, you can point out here it does not enjoy, getting point, personal autonomy and financial flexibility. In reality, in ministry give order as per their political requirement. And last, here you can say it is not possible to change very frequently because Parliament is not always in session. Getting a point? So these are some limitations. But despite this, public corporation is very important one, very recognized one, and it's very much practiced also. Now we like to discuss government company. Government company is most popular form of public organization. Getting a point? Government company are like private company. Getting a point? It is established by Indian Company Act. Earlier, this Company Act was enacted in 1956. Now it is re-amended in 2013. So presently, Indian companies or company form of public undertaking are regulated and controlled under Indian Company Act 2013. So what is government company? Government company is company which is, you can say, created by government, in which complete capital is invested by government, or major portion of capital is vested by government, and rest portion can be by state government or private sector. Getting point? So you can say government company, you can say, are those company in which either 100% capital is vested by government or maximum capital is vested by government and some capital is vested by private sector also, private partner also. Get a point? Government company can be of two types, public limited company and private limited company. Public limited company means when number of shareholder is unlimited, it is called public limited company. And when the number of shareholder is limited to maximum number of 200 only, then it is called private limited company. Getting by earlier it was 50, now increased to 200. In 2013 new act, there is one more provision that there may be one person company also. Getting a point? So there can be one person company, there can be public limited company, there can be private limited company presently now. Get a point? So company is the most popular form of public organization. Get a point? So can you name some company form of public organization? Yes. First you can say Bharat Heavy Electricals Private Limited, that is BHEL. Then Bharat Electronics Private Limited. Then Bharat, you can say Hindustan Machine Tools. Then you can say Hindustan Housing Factory Private Limited. then Hindustan Cables Private Limited, then Hindustan Corporation, Fertilizer Corporation of India Limited, then you can say Hindustan Insecticides Private Limited. Why private? Because they are private limited company, means the number of shareholder is limited. Getting point, Indian Telephone Industries Limited, then National Coal Development Corporation, then Indian Tourism Development Corporation, Indian Oil Corporation. I must point out that certain countries, some company put their corporation term with their name, but they are not public corporation. They are basically company form of public organization. Only they keep name as corporation, like Indian Oil Corporation or Indian Tourism Development Corporation. Get your point? So at a state level also there can be several companies like Bihar, you can say South Bihar Power Distribution Limited Company, North Bihar Power Distribution Limited Company, Bihar Pool Nirman Nigam Limited Company, Bihar Electronics Private Limited Company. Get your point? Then you can say Bihar, you can say Hotel Tourism Development Corporation Limited. So these are example of company form of government at a state level also. Company form of government, a company form of undertaking has several features. Some feature I will like to say, like public corporation, it also has separate legal status, means it can acquire property, it can enter into contracts and involves in litigation in its own capacity. Number two, it is established by executive order. Getting point? It has its own memorandum and article of association in which all terms and conditions of its association and functionings are included, and changes can be introduced very swiftly. So no too much difficulty while undertaking any changes. Next, it is basically you can say having its own fund which involves its own capital, you can say its profits, its borrowing, and it can use its fund according to its business requirement. In public corporation, maximum capital is basically provided by government. Means government is the largest shareholder. Get your point? Then you can say in public corporation they have their own employees, and civil servant can be appointed only on deputation basis. Get your point? The government company can be audited, and account can be undertaken as per their memorandum and article of association. So not necessarily that CAG will undertake its audit and accounting function. It is free from, you can say, day-to-day governmental influence. It is managed by the board of directors, and in board of directors, governmental representation will depend on government's capital involvement. If entire capital is provided government, then entire board of directors will be appointed by government. Get a point? So this is the thing. Clear? So can you repeat the things? What are features of government company? Yes, government company are like a private company. They are established by Indian Company Act 2013. That is, they are established by executive order. Get a point? And it has its own manual, which is called Memorandum and Article of Association. It has own legal status. It can acquire property in its name. It can involve in contract and involve in litigation also. It has its own fund which involves capital, profit, etc., and it can use its fund as per its requirement. Then its maximum share is provided by government. Then it is managed by board of control, in which government's representation depends on its capital proportion. Then you can say it has own employee and on personal policy. Get a point? So what are its merits? Can you tell me what are merits of advantages of governmental company? Yes. It is very, you can say, it has very easy to, very easy and convenient information, very easy to establish. No, you don't need too much technical expertise, you don't need parliamentary approval, etc. It can be easily established. Number two, it provides maximum governmental control. Government does not give too much lease or leverage also. Government exercise effective control also. Number three, it is in position to make association with private enterprises very effectively. It has autonomy in day-to-day administration. Next, in financial and personal matter, it has high degree of autonomy and flexibility. Next, it is very, it provides for expansion and diversification smoothly. So some advantages I tell you. First advantage, it has very easy information. Number two, it has, you can say, it can interact with, that means private administration very significantly. Then government exercise significant control also. Number four, in personal and financial matter, it has autonomy and flexibility. Number five, it has substantial amount of, it is very easy to expand and diversify. So these are some important attributes. Then what are demerits? The most important demerit you can say with regard to public company is, governmental companies, basically it lacks accountability. It is considered island of autonomy. It is kingdom within kingdom. Getting point, it avoids constitutional responsibility and company law. Getting point, so government company basically is in contrary with the conception of company form of organization. Company means group, and in government company there is non-existence of group. So government company is inconsistent with the very concept of company form of government. Next, you can say, in government company, government exercise influence, interference like other department very significantly. So in personal matter and administrative matter, it doesn't have its own autonomy, or you can say freedom. So you can say, so the most significant feature, demerit the government company is it avoids constitutional responsibility, and you can say it is against company law. Getting point, in government it encroaches upon and influences its policy significantly. Getting point. So we have discussed all three forms of public corporation and their merits and demerit also. Now I must tell you there are some miscellaneous form of public organization also, like you can say holding company, then control board, then public trust, then commission form of organization, then you can say commodity board, then you can say public trust also. You can say cooperative society. Holding company are formed where the companies are operating in same field, like all company working in coal field or coal area are grouped under CIL. All steel company working under SAIL. All insurance company working under GIC. So they are holding company. All governmental hotels are working under Hotel Asoka group of hotels. Get your point? So these are holding company because when it works in large volume, then it enjoys several economy. Get your point? Now second, control board is basically established for river valley projects like Bhakra Vyas management board, or you can say then there can be Nagarjun Sagar control board, etc. Gandak Pariyojana. Have you heard of it? Anyway, next you can say there is public trust, like you can say UTI is established by Parliament for interest of a small consumer, or you can say saving individuals, small saving. Next you can say there is some commission type like Khadi Gram Udyog Board. to promote certain industry or sector. If Parliament enacts a commission, then it is called commission type organization. Then to promote certain boards, that is commodity board is established, a rubber board, coffee board, tea board, etc. Then cooperative society are established for, you can say, non-profit basis, like Indian Dairy Development Corporation, Trade Fair Authority of India, National Cooperative Development Corporation, etc. They are established under society form of organization. Getting point, so these are also public corporation, but their number is minimum. So most important form is public corporation, then government company, then departmental undertaking, and last miscellaneous form. Then I will like to discuss, public undertaking. There is some important debate, control versus accountability. The control versus accountability, control versus autonomy is most important issue of public undertaking, because public undertakings are established for a particular objective. Getting point, it has some non-conventional type of functioning. That is why it requires autonomy. But since it involves public fund and government is accountable to public for all affairs, so accountability is equally important. So how much we require to give autonomy and how much we exercise control over a public undertaking is very important thing. And to maintain balance is very much needed. Then the question arises, why we need to give autonomy to public corporation or public undertaking? Because they are a new form of organization. They perform some non-conventional form of function. They are like private organization. They require some flexibility. They require some autonomy. They require some day-to-day freedom in their matter. So these are reasons for which they need autonomy. Then you tell me, what are mechanisms through which we give autonomy? What are mechanisms through which we give autonomy? The first is basically separate legal status. They have their own legal status. They can acquire property. They can enter into contract, etc. They can involve in litigation also. Then you can say they have their own funds, so they don't require dependent government for fund for every matter. And they have their own personnel also. They have their own personnel. They are not dependent on government for personnel. Getting point? Then you can say they have their own management autonomy, like their railway board. Then you can say the board of directors. They function their own independently. Sometimes you find there is tussle between RBI and government also, because RBI is definitely part of government, but in internal matter it enjoy autonomy. So they have their separate management. Get a point? Then something more you can say, in accounting and audit also they have some autonomy. They do as per their own things. Then you can say some specific form, special measures. Special measures like you can say Navratna, Maharatna, etc. Maharatna status. We give Maharatna status, etc. so that they enjoy autonomy and function as per business interest. So these are mechanisms through which we give accountability to them, autonomy to them. Getting point? First is legal status, second is their own fund, third their own personnel, number 4 their own management, number 6 their audit or accounting as per their own business need, and then some special measures like Maharatna or several feature government gives from time to time as per requirement. And what is mechanism of accountability? First you tell me why we need accountability. We need accountability only due to things that it involves public fund, and public accountability cannot be ignored here. So we have to ultimately uphold the public interest. So that's why we require. The first is basically political control. Political control means ministerial control. Minister can ask questions, he can give political directive, etc. Then you can say financial control. That is very important point. Ministry of Finance, exercise control over it. Get your point? Then third is basically legislative control. Parliament is also having power and it may also exercise control through parliamentary questions, resolution, budget enactment. Getting point? Then you can say audit. Audit is also mechanism through which accountability can establish. Getting point? Like CAG, etc. Then you can say judicial control also there. If they go against public interest, then judiciary is also there to exercise control over them. So the judicial control also. Then you can say miscellaneous, a special measure also here, like you can say Lokpal is there. Then you can say corporate social responsibility is there. Corporate social responsibility is there. Lokpal is there. MOU is there. Memorandum of Understanding. So these are mechanisms through which we exercise control over public undertaking also. Then what is MOU? MOU is basically arrangement in which there is agreement between government and public corporation or public undertaking that okay, I give you autonomy, but in return you have to give performance. So this is mechanism through which you will be given several privileges also, but ultimately you will have to make accountable for your performance. So these are mechanisms through which we give autonomy. These are mechanisms through which we give autonomy. So that is autonomy, and that is, you can say, responsibility. That is autonomy, you can say, and that is accountability. Both require accountability. So both require to be equal. If this situation is there or this situation, both are injurious to public interest in ultimately. If you give more autonomy and less accountability, then they will misuse power and misappropriate fund also. If you have more accountability and autonomy, they will not function in public interest. Any point? So they will not do what the things were intended to do. So what we require, there should be right balance between autonomy and accountability. And this balance should be not be a static one. It is very, very dynamic, very much organic, depending upon the political ideology of ruling party as well the prevailing situation. For example, if situation requires to give more autonomy to them, we will require to give more autonomy. Then government situation requires to exercise control over them, then we will exercise control over them. So this thing we require. So but the balance between accountability and autonomy should always uphold public interest, because it is the first and last measure. Get your point? So you have to see ultimately public interest should be given at primacy. So that is thing, you exercise control, you give autonomy, all thing is possible, all thing is feasible, while only in the interest of public interest. So what I will like to say, that take up one question asked in BPSC, that what are mechanisms through which autonomy and control are given to public undertaking, and try to write your own and post to me, and if you have any difficulty you can contact me. Okay, all the best. Enjoy.